capacity assessment on food security for farmers, a project in East Hararghe zone, uh, terminal evaluation on capacity building project of uh, preparation of climate resilient uh, green investment plan for ACCRA, African Climate Change Resilience Alliance, Oxford, April 2013 in 4 Canades. Population program management training, model preparation was part of the work for sector heads organized by Alamaya University and Dredar Administration Council Population Office. Uh, Teachers Development Program, TDP, Impact Association Study, evaluation of the current teachers training arrangements and initial experiences of the newly qualified teachers in Ethiopia, a consultancy work arranged between the Ministry of Education of Ethiopia and the Faculty of Education on March 2007. He served as a lead consultant. Knowledge, attitude, and practice of family planning in Somali National Regional State in September 2004, a study conducted by Alama University and SNRS Population Office. This is the profile of Dr. Tegin Sishin. Dr. Tegin, you are welcome. Our internal examiner is from the Department of Geography, Dr. Shoma Yilgu. Dr. Shoma Yilgu is an associate professor in the Department of Geography and Environmental Studies at Arbaminch University. He graduated BA degree from Addis Ababa University in 1985. His academic rank now is associate professor, and now Dr. Tashoni served 37 years. Thank you, Dr. Tashoni. His specialization is environmental geography. He delivered a lot of courses in Arbaminch Teachers Training College and Arbaminch University. Some of the courses he delivered are integrated environmental resource management, wetland changes and benefits, climate change and mitigation strategies, watershed management, and number of other courses for PhD and master's students. Dr. Tashome advised a lot of number of students as a principal supervisor for 5 PhD students and more than 24 MA students in Arbaminch University. Of the aforementioned figures, 2 PhD students and 20 MA students were already graduated. His publication experience, Dr. Tashome published 25 manuscripts and 1 textbook in reputable journal and publishers. His research undertakings, currently Dr. Tashome undertaking 4 comprehensive grant research projects as principal investigator and 3 thematic-based research projects. Completed research projects are also there. 1 grant comprehensive research project and a number of other thematic area-based research outputs were completed. Positions and experience of Dr. Tashome. Beginning from 2000 GC, Dr. Tashome served as Education Faculty Dean, Director of Student Service, Dean of College of Social Science and Humanities, Executive Research Director of Arbaminch University. He attended his BA and MA degree at Addis Ababa University in different years and joined Andhra University, India for his PhD study and graduated in environmental geography in 2004. He delivered courses for PhD students in Bulehora University and Harmaya University. He served as board of examiner in varying universities such as Dilla University, Harmaya University, Kotebe University, Walaita Sodo University, Hawassa University, and others. Thank you, Dr. Tishuma, for your long service.
Thank you.
Okay. So according to our schedule, now the next uh, is I invite the supervisor of Mr. Tariku, Dr. Govindu, to introduce our today's candidate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah. Welcome to all for today's defense of my advisee, Mr. Tariku. I'm really very happy since we have been waiting for this day last 5 years. Then finally we did it. This is really is a day for us. And our advisee, our research work title is uh, wetland degradation and that their driving forces and the livelihood benefits in shore of western shore of Lake Chamo and Abaya. This is our title, and actually I have to tell something about my advisee, Mr. Tariku. Is really very sincere and hardworking, and he did actually initially he was gone through many challenges while he's handling this title, since there are many aspects of technical issues. But surprisingly, he did beyond our expectations. That we really happy for that. And also, I appreciate in front of all of you, my advisor, Mr. Tariku. And and also, I think there is no information about me. Child didn't tell, let me tell about my biography also. Yeah, because there is no option for my biography. So let me actually I'm working here in Ethiopia since 13 years. I served almost 7.5 years in Mekelle. Then I got a transfer to Arbaminch University. And then since 6 years I served here. And the other thing is, I proud to again inform you that when I was doing a PhD myself, and the today's internal examiner, Dr. Teshomi, and our former academic vice president, and today's co-advisor, we were together in the same university. And other is proud to me to say that I taught for both of these. And who have served as a research director and who have served as an academic vice president. So it's really proud to me because I taught them in India, the same university, when I was lecturer. So this is about me, and that the University Andhra University from Andhra Pradesh. So we were there, and also now I heard one of our external examiner from India, and as I have heard about his biography, he almost all touch all the Indian from IIR, Survey of India, everything. So I think our perception definitely will meet your research expectations, since we are from Indian institutions. Uh, Thank you. This is a brief, and let me tell our advisee biography in brief. Mr. Tariku Zekariyas Kishilov was born on April 18, 1979 in the rural Kebele of Balta, Khamba Vareda, Gamo zone. He attended his primary education at various schools in the Khamba and Arbaminch University, Arbaminch Senior Secondary School, that is from 1987 to 1995 Ethiopian calendar. And in 1998, Ethiopian calendar joined the Arbaminch University and graduated with a degree of BA in Geography and Environmental Studies. Then he served as a graduate assistant at Samara University in 2001, that is again Ethiopian calendar, for 3 years. He joined the former Arbaminch University in 2003 and graduated in 2005 with a MSc degree in Land Resource Management. So he has been working
and that of aesthetic tourism and that of recreational values also obtained from the wetlands. Wetlands are the most and very important biologically, very important ecosystem for land cover. But it is also most threatened ecosystem always. And then world has lost approximately 50% of these wetlands last 15 years. This has happened due to a very now that there is two causes of wetland degradation, but the natural and anthropogenic. But the major one is, or the major cause has come from that of the anthropogenic one. Slightly less than 2/3 of the wetlands of or natural wetlands of the world has been changed or degraded, which means lost or converted to other uses. So wetlands can significantly suffer a critical degradation and a loss all over the world. So this has been derived by both the natural causes and that of human causes. But the most prevalent cause for the degradation of wetland is human or anthropogenic causes, such as population increasement, expansion of agricultural land, expansion of settlement, development of infrastructure, and the urban developments are one of very significant anthropogenic causes for the degradation of the wetlands. The area extent of wetlands in Ethiopia does not exceed about 2%, almost 0.8% of the Ethiopian land mass or areas were covered by wetland. But land degradation, encroachment of to the wetland ecosystem is very critical and challenging issue in Ethiopia. Salinity was there, nutrient and sediment loads, especially the wetlands are very Ethiopian wetlands are linked with especially that of the lakes and the lakes environments. So the lakes of Ethiopian, that the Ethiopian lakes were found in the Rift Valley, the major Rift Valley. Almost 6 or 7 lakes of Ethiopia is found in the Rift Valley. You know that the Ethiopian Rift Valley system is inland system, so it can absorb water, not only water, but also there is a sedimentation, there is a siltation, or there is a land use change on the upland. So that can harm the down area, especially that of the lake as well as the wetlands. Abaya Chamo lake wetlands are not different from those aforementioned one, but these wetlands can, that they are endowed with or gifted with a variety of aquatic biodiversity, variety of beauty natural resources, and then this beauty natural resources and a very, very impressive among the Rift Valley lakes and its wetland, but nowadays it is highly degraded due to that of the natural as well as the human activities, especially the upland resource degradation and the increasing sediment. Due to this, there is increasement of sediment that can flow to the downstream, then it can affect the lake, not only the lake, but also its environment or what we call the wetland, also affected. Several other studies were conducted about the conditions of wetland in Lake Habte, but none or rare of them are emphasized on the wetland and its resource, especially wetland use dynamics and its sustainability, as well as linking the wetland dynamics or wetland change with that of the livelihood. Therefore, the work of this paper especially attempted to address the degradation of the resource as well as the livelihood benefits, and then through integrated or different or diverse approaches or diverse methods. Therefore, none of other studies will reflect or do not show it is the current status. These areas were very productive. It is very impressive, but more of the works are focusing on other engineering or other climatic issues, but they fail to address the degradation of this small land, but very important. As I say that it is ecotone as well as a buffer zone between that of the terrestrial as well as the water body. So they fail to integrate this very important but small ecosystem, but provides a very and a significant ecological benefit. So our study, or my study, attempt to address its degradation, then its benefits through diversified approaches. When I come to the general objective, it comprehends the impact of wetland use dynamics, its driving forces and the livelihood benefits. Specific objectives analyze the magnitude, change, drivers of land use dynamics on wetland for the last 3 decades, analyze the trend of degradation by using spectral indices for the last 3 decades, and explain the benefits of the lake wetland, and then the last one, assess the policy implication for the sustainable management of the wetland. So this research questions that's derived from the main specific objectives. Then this is my study area. Habte Lake wetland is located between this lab and the lawn, and it has a fluvial and a ribosoil types were there. And then when we see, especially these areas, as I mentioned, that the recent geographic event, even the sediments were transported from the upland areas and the deposits. So due to this, where these areas are very recent soil developments were there. Therefore, it is a fluvial soil and the ribosoil types were there. Rainfall, it is a biomodal rainfall type. The biodiversity, that everybody knows that this area is very, very impressive and a very important naturally gifted area, especially in the production of, that the banana production was there, mangoes. Not only this, tourism, very impressive. Biodiversity as well. No. Land use, when we see the grassland, woodlands, wetland, rivers, lake, riverine, forest, and diversified, 3 species were there. When we see the topography, it's like in the Rift Valley of Ethiopia, especially the southern or the main Rift Valley system. It is characterized by tropical, or what we call a polar agroecological zone. And then it receives, or it is a mean annual mean temperature of it exceeds 24 degrees centigrade. Mean annual rainfall about 665 up to 1,400. And then here, agriculture is very dominant land use practice. Crops, cotton, mango, banana, large land use or large area coverage crops, and then generally this Habte wetlands, especially the western shore of this, is productive, economically important area of Ethiopian Rift Valley system. When we come to the theoretical framework, studies like this focuses on especially positivism view, constructive view, and that of fragmented view. Some studies about, especially this study, focuses on studying the complex relationship between the environment and the human, especially socio-economic problems. Like my study, there is degradation of wetland and there is a livelihood benefit or livelihood. So this can be studied, or we can see this in fragmented view. Especially this fragmented view enables us to apply the mixed approach, especially. And another advantage of applying this fragmented view is that it is also very flexible to use different data at the same, but and different analysis techniques were used. So due to this, the pragmatic approach uses both that the human and environmental problem. So application of divergent procedures in the methods were there. Pragmatic enables to apply both quantitative and the qualitative approach in our data analysis. Now, when we come to the conceptual framework, there is a driving forces, especially there is land use, land cover change, and wetland change. This has been driven by or caused by farm and settlement expansion and deforestation and overgrazing, segmentation, eutrophication, or then chemical releases and invasion of invasive plants. And there is also open access of the resource, especially the wetland resources, or especially the communal resources in Ethiopia, including this Habte areas where open access, everybody can access. So this can have leads to the overuse of this resource. And then this can affect this or bring this wetland degradation. But the very important thing here is that there is degradation, but there is a livelihood benefit. This can provide this very important ecosystem services, especially provisioning, supporting regulatory and cultural services were drawn from that of wetland. Then it can cause, this causes can result as impacts this degradation or loss of the wetland, increasing of wetland pollution, impairment or loss of this wetland function, or loss of wetland goods and services may happen. So therefore, it is very important. This has its own implication for management practices. It should be community-based, or it have to base that leads to another a policy option. This is our framework. When we come to the methodology, this study focus on both quantitative and qualitative approach, and then the design, it uses a cross-sectional survey design. Data were used, especially satellite images were used of 1919 to 2019. The second type of data is socio-economic and environmental condition data were collected through survey questionnaires, focus group discussion, key informant interview, and a field observation was carried out for socio-economic data. Then when we come to the satellite data image processing, geometric, radiometric, atmospheric corrections were made for all 4 satellite data. All images were projected in the UTM system and then mosaicked by using that of linear contrast stretching and histogram. Equalizations were used, and then applied supervised, especially maximum likelihood techniques were used to classify land use, land cover, land cover classes for the state areas. And then this, well, based on this, we identified 6 land use types. And then the second one is unsupervised techniques are used for the indices, especially the second objective is focusing on the indices-based land use classification. So accuracy assessments were carried out, And then change detection analysis were also performed. The area changes were annual change, and the percentage changes were performed. And then for indices, especially normalized difference for wetland, water area, and that of normalized difference turbidity index were also carried out. So with this, the magnitude of change were also analyzed using this. Land use changes of Lake Habte is analyzed, and lastly, we determined 6 land use classes from that of land use land cover classification, 2 classes from that of indices, especially that of normalized difference water indices, and that of normalized difference turbidity index. So for the last, also I used a document analysis, especially 2 land uses, especially the forest. Except this one, all the accuracies of 6 classes were attained or satisfied the recommended accuracy level, or it is above 80. So based on this, we identified 6 land uses among the forest 35.2% in average, almost 3,418 hectares per decade. Unlike the trend of the previous one, especially 1990 to 2000, but the latter period shows that some increasement and some slope of this forest area. And then the second one is water. The very important thing here is that that the Lake Abaya-Chamo or wetland, or Lake Abaya and Chamo, is found within the Rift Valley system. It is inland water system. It receives all the sediments from the upland through the erosion. All over the country there is high or severe land degradation. This leads to the soil erosion. So these eroding materials or sediments were deposited in the lake beds. So therefore, the lake areas or the lakes were lateral or horizontally increased. But especially when we see that from in the initial study in 1919, 599 hectares were increased. Later in 2010 to 2019, it was increased about 1,443 hectares of the land was taken by the lake. This means not the lake areas increased, but the lakes beds were decreased. Due to that, the lakes were increased to the wetland. The second one, another land use here is agriculture or cropland. The agricultural land was increased since there is a deforestation, there is sedimentation, there is a source degradation, there is a huge increasement of agricultural land in the last 40, 50 years in the western shore of Lake Abaya-Chamo area. So the expansion of commercial farms, especially the introduction of a cash crop, that Arbaminch is very common, very known by that of banana. After the introduction of this banana, by nature, banana needs water, so they can draw this water from the lake as well as the tributaries. So this agricultural land was increased at the expense of this very important ecosystem. So this is the maps of land use covers. And then a very important and a very important focus of our study is wetland. Wetlands are continuously declining through our study period, especially the magnitude of the change is 11% in the first period, especially in 1990. About 700 hectares were taken by the lake, especially as I expressed that there is upland degradation, there is deforestation, there is also agricultural land increasement. This agricultural activity was carried out in the western shore of Lake Abaya-Chamo by using that it is called agricultural agroecological zone. It uses irrigation, so they draw water from the lake as well as from the tributaries. So the wetlands were degrading. The change was caused by especially the loss of about 2991 hectares through the last 13 years. So this degradation is followed by or caused by the transformation of the land from the wetland to the cash crop, especially change of the land from the wetland cover to the agricultural land. So Ethiopia, since you know, Ethiopia has experienced the loss of Halmahera Lake and its wetlands due to that of land use dynamics, or it is resource degradation and the deforestation, including that of erosion on the upland. This is one of the experience, especially the using of this land use change and that of. So this is what the map of wetland, especially here the wetland, the red colors were indicating that the wetlands were degrading, lost wetlands, especially either to the water body or to the cropland. And then wetlands are especially shrinking by these three areas. So this is a very similar other studies were carried out in the other areas, especially the wetlands has lost or converted to the other land uses, especially the dominant land use here is agricultural land due to the introduction of the cash crop, especially the introduction of banana. And then this is very observed in other areas of similarly observed in the other areas of the Rift Valley system. The second objective is detection of wetland change using the spectral indices. The result of this, especially normalized difference turbidity index and that of normalized difference water index accuracy assessment were carried out. Then it is attained, it's a maximum, especially the accuracy levels. Therefore, based on this, these objectives are focusing on, especially based on the indices. You know that the classification in indices is not supervised; it's based unsupervised. Therefore, this takes a very important dynamics and degradation. It indicates very important here non-wetland, non-water surface and the water surface were classified, especially the turbidity and that of water area change were assessed, especially when the water surface were about 10,000 hectares, and the water surface is 13,000 hectares in the initially, but it was increased about 137,000. But in the initially, the water area is about 134,000. So this shows that is a great increment of the water area at the expense of this one. Not only this, another very important in this objective is that turbidity indexes were carried out. Here, this shows that the water area changes. The red one shows that the back retreat of the lake, and the blue one shows that of the forthcoming of the lake. So the near years, especially the last 10, 8, 9 years, the lake were increasing, so the blue one is increasing. And then this is seasonally, especially in the current season, this wetland or the water areas will increase or come to the wetland, then it can take that one. But in the dry season, it can retreat back, and the farmers are using that area for the cash crop, especially for using that of tomatoes and other vegetables for farming. So another one is turbidity. Here, the lake turbidity is increased the last 30 years. Just you can see that low, medium, after the classification of turbidity, changed that into three qualitative-based classification. What that is derived from the statistics from the GIS. Therefore, especially in the first the bold black one is high, somewhat it's less, but in the last part, the bold black one is increased. Look, this one is the high turbidity was recorded in the near years, especially 2019. This observation also, I myself also observed there on the field. Then it can this can confirm that there is high turbidity in the lake, and there is eutrophication, especially dense growth of water hyacinth around the lakes. This can create the problem of the lake water to be very highly turbid. Look, this is the map. As the initial one, this is 1991, the first one. The turbidity level, especially the high turbidity, is very less, especially it is observed in the western or northern part of Lake Abaya, but it's not found in Lake Chamo in 1990. But in the latter period, in 2000, this has been increased into Lake Chamo, especially Chamo has shown that medium turbidity also. And then with this, when we come the recent one, the lake turbidity was increased very, or highly it is increased, especially when we see the last one in 2019, the turbidity has come to the lake. Chamo is also completely changing to the, especially to the from medium to the from low to the medium, and it is increasing, especially in the western part. Especially this, the red one is very high. Especially the farmers are using this area highly for banana production. Since the banana production and the welfare of the farmers, especially the livelihood of the farmers, will increase, so they are using the fertilizers, and they are farm, especially they dry by constructing the ditch. Then they can take or they can use that the moisture area for the growth of the banana. Therefore, at the end they can use fertilizer. Therefore, the turbidity has also observed highly observed in Chamo Lake. So the strong or positive association or were observed with that of the turbidity as well as the normalized or the water area change. Whenever the water area or water is changed or increased, turbidity is increased. So with this, the wetland degradation is very high. So the wetland area is declining due to that of increasing siltation that is induced by the expansion of lake water. Especially this confirms the increasement of sediment to the lake Abaya and the Chamo is a very key cause for the lateral expansion or horizontal expansion or increasement of the lake to the wetland. So this can increase a diversion of it's caused by the diversion of water, especially from the main tributaries. Especially, you know that all the rivers which were induced or flow to the lake Abaya and the Chamo were used for agricultural purpose. Then they can use without any amount or regulation fertilizer. So this can also leads to that of turbidity. So the turbidity, this indicates that increasing the last 3 decades, especially in our study, the lake turbidity was increased. So, and then wetland degradation is increased. So increasing pollutants, expansion of the lakes, dense growth of especially water hyacinth were observed in Lake Abaya and the Chamo, especially, particularly the western shore of, especially this was very, you can just observe along that, especially the western shore of Lake Abaya is almost engulfing or covered by, it is taken by what we call the water hyacinth. This is, unless measures are taken to curb the problems, the wetlands are completely lost. Another, the third objective is degradation and livelihood benefits. The very important thing is that there is ecological degradation, but there is high livelihood significance. farmers here in western shore of Lake Abaya use irrigation agriculture, especially they use irrigation. Then they can produce a cash crop, their welfare or their livelihoods were increased. But the very sudden or very shocking thing is that the ecology and the fisherman were at harm because of that, the degradation. So the average age of, as we use this especially for survey, then the main source of this, especially the livelihood strategies of these areas were farming, fishing, petty trades, and the major pursuits of livelihood. Especially the majority of the respondents were especially attend the primary education and have others were in the formal education. Then livelihood benefits, especially this Lake Abaya-Gamo wetland provides very important ecological or ecosystem services. People harvest fish for food and for cash, grazing and the fodder for livestock, and the water for also for domestic and for livestock also, irrigation for cash crops, production of fruits, especially banana, mango, tomatoes, were increased, and the significance is very far. And then regulation of climate, especially temperature, rainfall, wind, and then storing a huge amount of carbon were also there. The benefits, tourism, especially this is very important. You know that the Arbaminch areas and that of the shores of Lake Abaya-Gamo is very impressive for tourism activity. Recreational activities were there. And then this is very important for especially the naturally this area can provide home for large number of hippos and the Nile crocodiles. And then also not only the natural, also this wetland can provide the managed ranches, especially crocodile ranches. These were the very important benefits. So the key cause of the degradation of Lake Abaya-Gamo wetlands were identified from that of the multiple responses, especially the lion's share is farm expansion. And this is linked with that. Using irrigation is the second one, sedimentation, overgrazing, invasive exotic plant species invasion, overfishing was there, rapid population increasement, open access, and the low protection of these wetland areas were the main causes of wetland degradation. So the last one is management issues. How do we manage and how do we come up with that? You know that Ethiopia is not signatory for the wetland convention of the Ramsar wetland. So now Ethiopia as a country increasing a large or constructing a large dams. So this can give some gaps. So how do we feel the loss of this ecology, especially the wetland, and it's very important. So it needs a policy framework. So here we did a document analysis and also a discussion with stakeholders and that of communities. So the residents of this Lake Abaya-Gamo, especially the residents proximate to the Lake Abaya-Gamo, consider that or perceive that the wetlands are western. I think previously the western, and it's a source of disease, especially for the increasement of for vector disease, especially for malaria. I think so. It has to be changed. They say. So there is the perception gap or understanding gap. So therefore, for this reason, they are trying, and then they can change it into the agriculture or that of crop land areas. Okay, about 34% of the respondents still believe that these areas are wasteland. So it has to be changed to other land use. And then about 47% of the participants perceive that this was wetland should be conserved, and then 10% they say this wetland should be drained. They say this perception or this observations were collected. Therefore, then from this, especially discussion with that of the government, but this especially from Kabale to the Warada and to regional, especially level, that believe that 23% of them indicate that the both local and the government jointly manage the resource, unless it is very difficult, because this wetland area, especially with recent climate change and with the increasement of food price, and then the farmers were also motivated to increase the production. They use the moisture, so this moisture is deriving from the wetland. They want this. So a joint application or a joint agreement is very important with that of the local people and that of especially what we call stakeholders from that of local communities have used different customs, beliefs, and laws to protect and manage as well as to govern. However, these customs, beliefs are not respected because, since as I told that this area is a resource, especially the communal resource, so it needs some policy. So the gap and the weak enforcement of institutional arrangements were observed, conflicts among the stakeholders. For example, when the Environmental Protection Office come and then they want to protect that area, but the Agricultural Office has come and they have to farm. They have to produce, they say. They have to use the water. So there is a conflict between the stakeholders. So within this, the wetland is degrading. Another very important and very, very shocking reality is that there is no buffer zone, or there is no buffer between the lake or the farmland. So even what I observed is that even the farmers think that the water next to my farm is mine. No one can fish on that day. Another conflict also coming because the fish is very important. So this is observed here in Gamo, that Gamo is very highly productive in fish. So the farmers think that not only the wetland, the water next or the lake next to my farm is mine. No one cannot come to fish. So there is high conflict issues were coming. So this is sourced or originated from that conflict among even the government bodies, among the natural resource or the Environment Protection Office as well as the Agricultural Office. So this conflict is also driven by the need to secure livelihood due to the open accessness, or especially the tragedy of the commons, that the unclear use rights. Who can use that one? Another one is lack of coordination among stakeholders, and then lack of clear legal frameworks to protect and manage the wetlands. So the results of this study revealed that the management of wetland is dominated by, especially, they say, who is the owner of this wetland or the lake? They say the local people, the government. Who is the government after all? They say they think that the Wareda or the zone, but they can never think that the government near to there, especially the Kabale administrator, are pointing to the up, but there is these issues were observed. During focus group discussion, there is no conservational measure has been implemented and taken in the Lake Abajam wetland. This is clearly observed that there is no buffer zone between the lake, the farm, or the wetland. But the policy or the guideline normally says that the Ramsar Convention is at minimum of 500 meters is minimum, but at the optimum it should be 1 kilometer. But there is no 10-meter buffer. Some of the farmers, even the lake has taken in the last year, their farm, even the bananas were about 400 50 hectares was taken in by the lake. So this indicates that when they clear the wetland areas, so the function of wetland is degraded, and therefore this is another very important issue. So uncoordinated and incoherent activities were common among the stakeholders. The government especially don't want to dominate the management, but it is not effective. It should be effective, especially it should include the local people, the whole stakeholders. Therefore, the government at different levels should clearly define and demarcate a buffer zone along Lake Abaya-Jamo wetlands, unless we can lose both the livelihood and the resource, or the ecology, or the wetland. So the changes were mainly perceived as especially the utilization of practices by the local communities, land use changes or concurrent landscape fragmentation, as well as a significant increase of agricultural land, waterbeds, and the settlements were observed, very significant, very huge. A large number of towns were emerging along the wetlands or along the Rift Valley or near to the lakes, including from that of down to Wolaita, there is Mira, there is Wajipo, there is Lante town, there is also Arbaminch. Here also another emerging. Still, there is no clear buffer zone was demarcated. So, rapid population growth was observed, extensive anthropogenic pressure, degradation of wetlands increased, a multifaceted approach especially should be applied, and measures on management and restoration plan for protection and sustainable management of the resource is unsatisfactory. Then, therefore, a legitimate stakeholder should be responsible and accountable for the overall change of wetland government, wetland resource governance system. There is a need to integrate ecosystem conservation as well as the development. It should be integrated unless it is difficult. Especially, there is very important to apply ecosystem-based management systems should be applied in these areas. So development should not be unsustainable. If there is development, this development has to be integrated ecology, unless it is not sustainable. So it should be planned and implement that of sustainable natural resource base, unless it is very difficult. Therefore, the government can hold up intensive irrigation vegetable farms on the buffer zone and restrict the area and keep the land use mosaic across the large parts of the lake buffers. Then future direction, future research topics, interrelationship between and their linkage in win-win scenario of wetland and livelihood sustainability should be investigated. Environmental consequences, especially in relation to that of agricultural inputs, because there is heavy use of fertilizers, pesticides along that. So this should be investigated. Another one is the effect of land use change should be also investigated. Acknowledgement, thanks to my supervisor, and also my appreciation goes to my data collectors, communities, Arbaminch University, my family, and then thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tariku, for your brief presentation. Now, the external examiners, please come to the stage and take your position. The external, Dr. Jome. Okay. Okay, thank you. Now it is time to question, comments, and suggestions. And the first chance will go to Dr. Tegain Sishain. Dr. Tegain Sishain, you have 14 minutes.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Abarra. I would like to thank the university and specifically the department for giving me this chance to evaluate the PhD work of Mr. Tariku Zekariyas. I thank you. In addition to this, this work has been reached this level with efforts from different stakeholders, including the university, the departments, board of advisory, the advisory boards, and others. Therefore, I would like to extend my thanks also for them. Saying this, I'm going to just give my reflection as external examiner, and I think because of interest of time, I'm going to suggest or give suggestion, questions, point to respond at the spot. Otherwise, others will remain comments or suggestion. So, in view of this, I'm going to start from the abstract. The abstract is a bit long. It has to be just reduced to manageable size. I think yours is more than a page. Yeah, therefore that is the reason. It has to be just a paragraph, and you have to just reflect what basically exists in the main body. In the abstract also, what is remaining is very important. Whenever we prepare an abstract, details are not given about the sampling procedure, even in the succeeding sections. This is seriously lacking again. Background section, paragraph 2 contains several factors in percent. That is not consistent. At times, I came across, some conflicting ideas. For instance, Ethiopian-based studies are small and didn't cover the wider geographical area of the country. The Ethiopian Wetlands Research Program was mentioned as an example. I was one of, at that time, I was one of the students who participated in that research program as a master student and other three friends. Therefore, even though, the statement stated seems, correct, it needs, some modification. The problem statement, the justification given to specify the problem is not really satisfactory because it has to clearly indicate the gap in terms of knowledge, in terms of methodology, in terms of other issues. Of course, the student has tried his level best to express that, but still it is not satisfactory. Because, as far as wetlands are concerned, there are many studies. After that, after the Ethiopian Wetlands Research Program, many studies have been just conducted. In Ilubabor, that was the original place where wetland research studies was started by the European fund from the European Union, which we did, our master's degree using that fund. And after that, in Jimma, in around Lake Tana, all these studies are there, and also in other parts of the country. Therefore, rather than making such hasty generalization with care, with precaution, that this statement has to be just made, because for different reasons the student may not just see other words in detail. Therefore, this has to be. For instance, I did use gas and remote sensing when I did wetland degradation, socio-economic part. I did the socio-economic part for Ethiopia Wetlands Research Program and for my degree. And I did gas and remote sensing, for instance. Other friends also did on soil. All these studies are